Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And as you come in, you know that the first thing that we do, apart from greeting you and telling you how good it is for us to have you here, share with us, is to ask you to complete our poll. So, may I ask David, can we launch the poll? And we're going to start that activity, and in 5 minutes, we're going to get going. All right, so welcome. Thanks for being here. And we're going to have an excellent session this morning. Thanks. All right, guys, we're back and we are ready to go. Thank you so much for being here. This is our 10th staging of JBDC in concert. And for those of you who are here for the first time, let me just give you a quick synopsis of what this is about. When the COVID crisis started to affect the entire world, we obviously saw an immediate fallout for lots of our small businesses in critical things. The customer base just shut down immediately, the market shut down, the supply chain shut down. So we decided to do, after having done a poll, a survey of our clients and realize what the critical areas are, we decided to embark on a series of sharing sessions. So we have done this, this is the 10th one focused on the creative industries, but in all we have done close to 40 different webinars and different sharing sessions, you know, for our client group. Because we believe that this, yes, nobody could plan for a COVID, but this period provided us with some opportunity for relearning, retooling, reimagining the way in which we do business and so on. So this particular series has been focused on the creative and cultural industries, and we have been doing it with the British Council now. And like I said, this is the 10th staging of such. We went through all kind of matters that are of interest and concern for the creative industries, including things like how it is that you monetize online, how it is that you understand and know how to leverage the digital marketing tools, how it is that you need to structure your business so that you operate efficiently in teams, how it is that you need to understand intellectual property and so forth. And starting in May, we decided to focus on specific industries within the creative industries. So we did music, we did literary arts, we did dance and theater, and a number of others. This one is our 7th focus on specific industries. And this morning, we're saying, let's eat, let's eat. I just had some Mali coffee, and I had a good old Jamaican tasty beef patty to go with it. But the truth is that our food and our gastronomical experience has been one of the hallmarks of Jamaican culture and Jamaican creativity over the years. Some years ago, when the Ministry of Tourism and the Linkages Network did research as to the reasons why persons come to Jamaica, our food was way up there in the numberings, along with our music and along with our people and so on. It's not really the sand and the sea that they come for the experience, which includes our food. But what of our food makes it so special? And have we been leveraging really all that we can to make our food such a dynamic industry that it is sustainable, and it also promulgates other industries. It becomes a driver for other industries and so on. So this morning we decided to turn the spotlight on food and on the whole business of our gastronomical experience in Jamaica. Let's look at food and the food industry as a creative industry, as it is recognized internationally. What is so special really about our food, and how do we leverage that specialness to make sure that we can benefit from it in a sustainable economic way? So we have a group of experts this morning. We have assembled an elite panel of experts to talk about this with you this morning, to share their experience, to share some of their expertise with you this morning, to put some spotlight on this whole thing about our food industry as a creative industry, as something that is inspired by our culture, and how it is that we can leverage what is good about that for monetization and for sustainable development for our country. So that said, like I said, we have assembled a really special group of experts. The first person that I'm going to invite to share with you for 5 minutes, because that's how it's going to go. We're going to have 5 minutes sharing from each of our panelists, and then we're going to open the floor for questions and for discussions and so on around the topic. Our first speaker is my good friend, Mr. Alvin Mori. I've known Mr. Mori for many, many years, starting way back in the days when I used to be in sugar. Yes, I'm probably still in sugar. No, I eat it, but not, not so much as I used to be. But many, many years ago we met. And what struck me about Mr. Mori then and still now is his passion for the agricultural industry, his passion for development, his passion for the growth and development, especially of young persons in agriculture. He has been an agricultural consultant for a while, although officially he's only, he has said that he's only there from 2018. And he has been emphasizing issues like sustainable clients, smart agriculture, protected agriculture, aquaponics, hydroponics, and so on. Over the last 18 months, he has supplied and constructed 18 greenhouses, mainly for schools, 6 of which are being specially modified to produce greenhouse vegetables and to grow fish. Alvin Mori is just a great guy and an all-time expert in the field. So to bring us his perspective on the subject here this morning, specifically talking about exotic crops for agronomy, please welcome my good friend, Mr. Alvin Mori, to speak to you. Alvin, your time.
Good morning, all, and I'm really pleased to be here. I'm one of those people or persons who really believe in growing what we eat and eating what we grow. I am from the roots area, ROOTS, relying on ourselves to survive. I normally start off on a slightly negative side, and it's something I saw 10 years ago in agriculture. I had the privilege of going to Fruit Logistica in Germany. Fruit Logistica to me then was like the Denby for the world, where literally every known agricultural entity was at Fruit Logistica, from Europe, North America, South America, the entire world, Africa, competing. And I learned some sad facts there. For example, I thought that when I hear about the gleaner in Jamaica, that's what the newspapers in the entire world are called, the gleaner. When the ackee, the saltfish, the pepper pot, all those dishes, I thought was unique to Jamaica. Fortunately, at Fruit Logistica, I recognize that maybe with the exception of cassava, nearly everything else was brought from elsewhere to Jamaica to feed the slaves. Don't know to say I'm proud of that, but then I think Jamaicans have made the very best of it. You think of ackee, Captain Bligh, you think of breadfruit, all of these wonderful items were brought here. We think of ginger, and just to let us know that I personally think that ginger is the cannabis of Jamaica, and we can make much more money growing ginger and doing it well than talking about cannabis. So for those dishes, when you think about the crops that are grown, and it is very difficult crops. And I said, I don't see myself just as doing agronomy. I have to have that mix of livestock. The German style roasted suckling pig from the wild pig in Jamaica is important. So we have to add some livestock. In Portland, we know the Boston jerk, the aphrodisiac, the crayfish soup. Trouble I'm having with some of these things is that we are not doing enough to produce them. We are not producing the starting material, and we are not having the feed to feed them. So we cannot really say that we are truly sustainable and independent when we rely on other people to produce the starting material and other people to produce the feed to feed them. But I've looked at a number of trees and I'll break them in categories: fruit and vegetables, and we know the great Jamaican ones, herbs and spices, roots and tubers. There are things that I think do more of, like macadamia nuts, the world's most expensive nut. It can be grown in Jamaica from sea level up to about 2,500 feet. When I lived in Malvern, I had macadamia nuts nearly every day. It's the most expensive nut in the world, and it can be done. We need to do much more on lychee, soursop, sweet sop, mountain sop. One close to my heart, easy peel fruit, easy peel citrus. Citrus where you simply just break off the skin, don't need to peel it, and you're there. I think of the, what should I say, the injustice done by the bauxite industry in terms of citrus and Manchester, where the Onika, the Artinique, the Tangerine, the Mandarine. I just think we need to get back there and find a way to get back with our easy peel citrus. Papaya, pineapples, strawberries, blueberries, ginger, turmeric. Most people have never seen the black pepper, but the black pepper can be grown literally at sea level, 500 feet above sea level, in enormous quantities. Pimento, our hot peppers, well, that is doing fairly well. We need to do much more with things like lemongrass, mince. We're not eating vegetables in Jamaica. That's my feel. We still put in the vegetables one side and eat the starch and maybe a little piece of the meat. But the broccoli, the cauliflower, the lettuce, the sweet pepper, the carrots, all of these things, we can produce them and produce them very well and have it all year round. Sweet potatoes, the world's newest health food, whether it is roasted, made into the pudding. The sweet potato is grown all over Jamaica from sea level up to the highest point of the country. It is maybe one of the best resilient, climate smart crop to have. It covers the soil quickly, readily, and as I say, it's the world's newest health food. It is used to fight night blindness in Africa, and whatever we need to do in Jamaica to get it onto the, what should I say, across our people, where we export sweet potatoes, it is our people who are still eating it. It has not crossed onto, for want of a better word, the white people, but they want it. But because we are not Global Gap certified, we can't get it into those high-end markets. And we have been talking about it, but we haven't done anything to make that happen up to now. And I hope Derek Mike can say something about that later, since he knows where the money is coming from to do it. As I have mentioned earlier, the German-style roasted suckling pig, they were here in the 1830s. They have perfected it. And if you go to Seafood Town, Lambs River in Westmoreland, it is there every Saturday evening. We can do more, and we can have the sweet potato and other things to eat alongside it. The crayfish, as I mentioned, I have challenged the fisheries division that I've seen crayfish in Jamaica up to 24 inches long. Not talking about the Australian red claw. The meat is so much finer than this imported one. but they are dying out in the rivers because of this imported species. We can do better. We need to find a way to have women and youth in the different communities, growing them, supplying pond operators so that we have an abundance of crayfish and our crayfish Thursdays, whatever you call it. Goats, I think that, it's not a crop, but they eat on a lot of crops. I really think that we need to have feedlots, and women and youth who are prone to pre-their larceny, they could cut the grass, take it home in a nice pen. Cardi has the model. We just need to roll it out and do what we must do. I'll stop here and see where we go after that.
Hey, thank you very much, Alvin. As usual, cutting right to the chase. Always, never someone to mince words. And I like that about you. I really like that about you. But you have started us off really well. Our next presenter, and we're going to come back to you, of course, Alvin, later when we start to open the floor for further discussion. Why is it that we're not growing more of some of these items, and why is it that why is it that we're not? We have not seemed to create this a sustainable economic model, business model for some of these. That is something that we probably can speak to a little later. Our next speaker, we are so pleased to have Dr. Pamela Powell with us this morning. Now, Dr. Powell is a former Special Projects Director at JBDC, and spearheading where she spearheaded the Culinary Arts Department for over 30 years. She's an award-winning writer. She wrote the famous cookbook, Sweet Runnings, Jamaican Recipe Galore. Obviously, she was also, not obviously, but just to say that she was also recognized by our government, National Award for service in the cultural development and particularly culinary arts area. We're so pleased to have her this morning. And this morning, Dr. Powell, I want you to bring your perspective to the topic, but in particular, we want for you to lead us in a discussion about what you think is the future of restaurants and also food festivals. I personally don't think that we have extracted as a country that has food as one of its main competitive advantages. I'm not sure if we have sufficiently extracted the kind of development that we could from our food festivals as such in Jamaica. But I would love to hear your perspective on it. So now we're going to invite Dr. Powell to speak to us this morning. Dr. Powell, your time.
Good morning, everyone.
Pamela, are you here?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. First of all, I would like to commend the government of Jamaica, past and present, for their investment in Jamaican cuisine and gastronomic tourism. Without the effort of the Jamaican government, I don't think we could be talking today in such a proud fashion about our cuisine. Because I can tell you, I worked with the JBDC from the 70s. I'm retired now, and hotels did not serve Jamaican cuisine. They would tell you that when they introduced Jamaican cuisine to tourists, they wouldn't eat it, they wouldn't want it. They would want to eat more European style, menus and so on. So they had to provide the tourists with what they would want to eat because they were not familiar with Jamaican cuisine. And now we can say that Jamaica is one of the favorite destinations for food. And that is a great achievement for Jamaica. I believe that a lot of these food festivals emerged out of events that have been created by the Ministry of Agriculture and the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission. Because the Dembe Agricultural Show is where we showcase a lot of what we produce in the country. And when you go to Dembe, that is where you see the thing like turmeric, where people using now, they're even saying turmeric with ginger and garlic and all sorts of other things can help you with COVID, to reduce COVID as an illness. So when you look at the ingenuity and the creativity of the Jamaican people like to go into the back garden and find things that they can use to help them to actually be able to deal with certain illnesses. We do not believe as a country to go to doctor every time we are sick. So you find that Jamaica has tried in every way through food festivals to engage the population, to show people what we produce, how we use what we produce. My only concern is that the food festivals that we were accustomed to last year, how do we deal with these food festivals with COVID-19? And we would have loved to know that as a country, this very dynamic aspect of our cuisine and our culture, we should be able to have the nation go to Westmoreland to Curry Festival, Little Orchard Festival, the Blue Mountain Coffee Festival, all sorts of festivals. The JCDC during the month of June, Stage 4 Regional Festival of Foods. That's where the youngsters come out and show off their sweet potato pudding with many sauces, cherry sauce, or they put jackfruit sauce. Last year, JCDC in one of these festivals highlighted the use of the jackfruit. And Jamaicans tend not to want to use jackfruit as a protein. Jackfruit is one of the richest protein that exists, and it is also rich in vitamin C. It also aids when you have stomach issues. And because of that, you find that the government is now, through the JCDC, promoting the use of the jackfruit. They had it last year at a food festival where they engaged the public in tasting jerk jackfruit and barbecue jackfruit. In the United States of America, they are packaging jackfruit and selling it as a protein item. It is frozen in supermarkets. And so because of that, we need to have food festivals, because this is how we expose what we have. And when we look at the restaurant industry, the amount of restaurant, before COVID, the restaurant industry was booming. Sunday brunch was just one of the main things that families and friends look forward to. You go to a Sunday brunch and you see a buffet set up in some of these hotel restaurants or regular restaurants. And you are able to eat from a whole group of 10, 15 items. And I tell you, you just tell yourself that, boy, it's good to eat outside sometimes, eat away from home, because this is the only time you see such creativity. Cheesecake, jackfruit cheesecake, Nesberry cheesecake, and those are things we do not do at home. We also have to look at the investment that is being done to train our young people through places like Heart Trust, and some of these young people are now learning to use these exotic and creative farm produce in many ways. But we have to look at how does this affect the restaurant industry. A restaurant is a place where you put in seating. People like to be in a restaurant where you can talk and converse and be able to maybe communicate in a way that nobody else is hearing you. And this is also going to pose a difficulty on the restaurant industry. Because, for example, look at Mothers. They temporarily closed 30 of their locations. But Mothers also operate the Devon House Bakery. I cannot imagine Devon House Bakery not open, because that's a place where most of us would go quickly and grab a pastry or an ice cream over there and so on. While the ice cream place is open, then the bakery is not. June is traditionally graduation month. And during graduation, a lot of restaurants make money. Because after graduation, the ideal thing is to the family go out and eat. When I graduated, that's what my family did. We all gathered grandma, everybody would go to a restaurant to eat. But that will not be the norm. June and July is when JCDC stage their food festivals around the island. I don't think that will be happening this year. So I would like to end this section by saying established protocols will definitely be needed to revive food festivals and the restaurant industry.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Powell. Very insightful words, and we really appreciate those comments, Dr. Powell. I mean, the truth is that we are so rich in terms of what it is that we have to offer. You know, and we have had, as you have said, we have had food festivals for a while, and JCDC has done an extremely extraordinary job in terms of the promotion and development of some of these food festivals. We do have food festival, you know, Boston Jerk Festival. I think St. Elizabeth have a festival as well, and St. Anne and so on. But I would love for our food festivals after this COVID period, because nobody, you know, everybody kind of very cautious about, and there are protocols in place for social distances and so on, and gatherings. Well, I would love to see us get to a place where our food festivals are international calendar events, like other food festivals elsewhere, even in the region. There's a rum festival in I think in Barbados. I think that has become an international calendar event. But we can talk more about that. Thank you so much, Dr. Powell. We're gonna move on to our next presenter, who we're going now into the kitchen, and we are going to talk to two entrepreneurs who have been in the business of providing delicacies for us to enjoy for many years. The first one is my friend Michele Williams, who is the executive chef at Moveable Feast Caterers, her entity, an establishment known for providing elegant comfort food using local products with an international flair. And I have been party to some of that wonderful food that Michele does. We at JBDC have benefited from that many times, and I can tell you the thing turned up properly. She is a graduate of Wolmer's Girls High School, University of Technology, specializing in institutional management and catering at Eastern Michigan University, where she earned a Bachelor's of Science degree majoring in hospitality management. The lady who provides delicacies, the lady who provides elegant food, exceptionally well prepared and presented. I would love you, Michele, to bring to discussion your perspective on the whole Jamaican gastronomy industry and how it is that we can use our innovation to merge our tradition, our culture into what products that we present. Michele, your turn. You're not mute, you're unmuted, Michele. Need to unmute. We're not hearing you.
Hi, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
I'm kind of new to this, like many of our viewers, I'm sure. But thanks to the JBDC and thanks, Harold, for having me on board. It's indeed an honor. COVID has affected me in that, as you know, we're no longer able to cater for large and small events. I also do rental, carriage of glasses and plates. So, you know, that's said and done. We just have to pivot. I have to diversify and I have to go back to basics. So I think for a lot of us in moving forward, don't think of this really as a challenge, but an opportunity to reinvent yourself. So for me personally, I have gone back to my childhood days. You know, I think we're very fortunate growing up and living in Jamaica. For me, my family, they're from Westmoreland. My parents, Hubert and Lola Williams, and also my aunt, Mrs. Tiny Golson, taught me a lot about appreciating what we have in Jamaica. So I have found over the years a number of countries all over the world, they're very passionate and excited about mango, papaya, passion fruit, but we have it here, we see it every day, and we take it for granted. You know, I am in love with food, I'm very passionate about it, and I think a great way of expressing yourself and your love is cooking with family and friends. So, you know, for me, when I was growing up, we had a New Year's Day dinner every January the 1st, and that was an opportunity for me to assist my family in the kitchen. So really my point is there's a lot that we take for granted. I think now is the opportunity to look within ourselves to find what we're passionate about. So for me, all these ideas that I have culminated all those ideas and put it into a cookbook. So, you know, soon to hit the market, you know, all those childhood memories, you know, in Westmoreland, my mother, for instance, everybody was assigned a breadfruit. So when they roast the breadfruit, my mom is Lola, L is on the breadfruit. For Hubert, H, Tiny, T. Everybody had their own breadfruit. There's a family joke that said they eat breadfruit till they're dead. But you know, it's those memories and that connection. Food has a way of connecting you and to family and friends as well. You know, I remember swimming in the river. There's a river behind the property where we grew up. You know, we would often catch jangle, crayfish, and make soup. So there's a lot, as Mr. Mori said, there's a lot that we have in Jamaica that we can capitalize on and use. For me personally, I'm using some of these products to make sauces. I now have a new line that I will be introducing very soon for sauces and salad dressings, such as mango salad dressing, and you know, just capitalizing on this opportunity. I think we are known for many traditional dishes that are popular throughout the world, and it all dates back to history. Also, as Mr. Murray said, back in the days, I think our history is very important. When the early settlers could no longer fish, the Arawak Indians, they hid in the mountains, and you know, the early settlers had to end up hunting wild boar. So the very method of hunting wild boar, and in an attempt to hide the smoke, they would dig a hole and cook the meat on the layers of wood, and hence the birth of jerk. You know, a few years ago, I was fortunate enough to be the research assistant for the BBC and assisted in writing BBC Ainsley Harriot's Barbecue Bible, which was #1 bestseller list for 12 weeks in London. So my point is a number of persons overseas, they capitalize on what we have here, and there's just so much that we can do. So I'm writing a cookbook, I write recipes, I'm a brand manager for some companies. There's a lot going on. This is a great opportunity right now, and I'm very positive. I'm very happy and energized and raring to go and ready for the future. Anything it throws at me. I'm expressing my joy of food through video presentations when I post on social media with Instagram. It helps. You know, there are clients out there who want someone to do food styling. So I work with videographers, photographers. I also work as a food consultant. So these are just some of the things that I have happening on the plate. I have a full plate, and it's, you know, it's a rewarding experience after so many years of being in the food industry. And you kind of put yourself in a box where, okay, so I'm a chef / caterer, and I cook for weddings and parties. But it also, COVID now is giving me the opportunity to do things that I kind of had on a back burner for many years. I attended UTech. Back in the day, it was called CAST. And my thesis at the time was Caribbean cuisine, where, you know, I dug once again back into our history, all the islands, and, you know, those islands, the French, the British, they all affect our cuisine right now. So, you know, use what we have, as Mr. Mori say, you know, grow, you know, get outside, grow lots of vegetables. And, you know, there's a tendency to think that Jamaicans are big into meat. Yes, we are. But I think we're also getting more health conscious now, and we're incorporating a lot of vegetables in our diet. So for example, I have been buying more tomatoes, you know, and this is a wonderful opportunity to support our local farmers, to grow Jamaica as well, to help our economy. So I make my marinara sauce, tomato sauce from scratch using fresh tomatoes. So, you know, I have an avenue there for income, for revenue, but also it's not just for me. I'm helping Jamaica, the land that I love. Trust me, I love Jamaica. I love our people. And we are resilient. We're fighters. And I'm a past student, proud past student of Women's Girls. And, you know, our crest is the rising sun, never sets. That's in our song. And trust me, whenever, you know, you think of that, you think, listen, what can I do to keep smiling, to keep that sun rising, sun not setting? No, we're going forward. Big things are going to happen. And not just for me, for you, for everybody else, and for Jamaica. I thank you for having me. I hope I haven't spoken too long.
No, Michele, you're very inspirational. Thank you for that. As a matter of fact, I see in the chat that persons would love for you to share your social media handle with them, so that so that they can follow you and so on. But just type it in the chat.
Okay, it's at Moveable Peace. Okay, I will type it later. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thanks, Michele. Thanks, Michele. Love the presentation. Love you for that. So I told you that we're going to have two entrepreneurs right in the middle. Well, the truth is that the entire panel are really entrepreneurs. But so we had the meal. Now it's time to have some drinks, have some cocktails, and to speak to you from that perspective, certain opportunities within that part of the gastronomy product, is a gentleman who has done it for a while, very creative in terms of some of the cocktail products that he has been producing over the years, and how he has combined local flavors, local experiences, local fruits and otherwise to create some really exciting products that are known not only throughout Jamaica but all over the place internationally. Wynton Hudson is a cocktail enthusiast and an accomplished professional bartender. He has created many nationally awarded cocktails. As a cocktail consultant, he has worked with many high-profile hospitality providers, most recently Half Moon, Jamaica, to help create memorable and tasty cocktail experiences. He has developed novel and exciting cocktail programs that explore unique flavors and textures through application of modern molecular gastronomy techniques. My only problem with Wynton is that he didn't bring any drinks for us all to share in. But without that, I want to invite Wynton to come and to talk to us this morning. Wynton, your time.
Good morning, everybody. They say it is 5 o'clock somewhere, but we will unfortunately not be having drinks today. Yes, my name is Wynton Hudson. I'm a cocktail consultant, cocktail enthusiast, anything to do with bar and beverage. I'm completely fine with the term bartender. Been in the business for over a decade, where I got my start at a place called Susie's Bakery. But before I get to Susie's Bakery, I see that there's a common trend. Everybody's hearing me? That it seems like everybody has a Westmoreland connection. I grew up in Westmoreland as well, went to Manning's, and I have very fond memories. I think I was destined to get in the drinks business. My father used to have my brother and I, after tying out the goats, go and pick the cherries and the June plums, and he would make the drinks, you know? So, you know, wheel around another 20 years later, and I'm back in the same field, trying to recreate some of those amazing Jamaican culturally founded drinks for, you know, the greater population. When I got into the bar business, you know, it wasn't very, it was never founded in Jamaican culture. You know, everything is pretty much imported. I mean, as apart from rum, you know, all the ingredients we import, we even import our mango syrups. When you look at the all-inclusives and you get your daiquiris, your mango daiquiris, your strawberry daiquiris, all of those are imported from Central America, Asia, and South America. And there's incredible opportunity in creating sustainable agro-processing linkages where, you know, we can supply not only Jamaican bars, but the world. I mean, the world liquor market is about 1.5 trillion and it's continuing to grow. People always need to drink. I mean, even though COVID has affected us, people can still drink at home and people can still eat at home. But one of the things, the greatest opportunity I see is in Jamaican ingredients. Mr. Alvin Mori spoke about ginger, and a lot of people don't know how important ginger was to Jamaica's economy back in the day. People from then would have known of a alcoholic beverage called Jamaica ginger, which was Jamaican ginger from Clarendon, which is probably some of the best ginger in the entire world. That was macerated with overproof liquor and to create something like a ginger liqueur. The downfall of that was some nefarious, you know, suppliers in the US, because they used to sell like hot bread, you know. But because of prohibition, they used to add some chemicals to it. And then what ended up was having people, you know, suffer from paralysis after having too much of that Jamaican ginger. Or they used to call it Jake's leg. People used to come out to the bar drawing the leg because of paralysis from the waist down. Other ingredients in Jamaica that, you know, there's an incredible opportunity for, not only the mangoes, are still starting to export it, but we need to start processing it here and to scale it so we can process it. We're looking at lemongrass, we're looking at passion fruit and sweet cup. We're looking at our own ingredients that with our own narrative can market to get people to start drinking, you know, Jamaica. I mean, Jamaica has already amazing brand potential. And when you look at, you know, involving it or integrating it into the cocktail culture, the bar and beverage culture, where people go to a bar and when they come to Jamaica, they don't want to taste Jamaica just on the plate, but they want to taste Jamaica in a cup. I mean, yes, we have amazing rums, Appleton rums, Worthy Park rums, Hamden rums. We have amazing rums, but everywhere produces rum. What do we have that is specific to Jamaica? Yes, our rums, but also our ingredients that we mix with our rums. And also our ingredients also mix very well with international ingredients. We do not make cognac. We do not make wines in the classical sense. We do have our, you know, Aki wine and fruit wines, our flavors of the past wines, but, you know, value added is where it's going to benefit most of us in the future, especially coming out of this COVID. I mean, we're looking at the price of, say, for example, lemongrass, or something even recently, which I see grows so easily. We call it Chinese thyme. I'm sure everybody is familiar with Chinese thyme, Mexican mint, Indian borage. It's kind of like a mint-like plant, but it makes an incredible liqueur, it makes an incredible syrup that you can use to mix your lemonades, and it makes an incredible flavored daiquiris. So when we look at the classics, you know, in tying in, you know, cocktails and our ingredients, is developing a narrative and linking it with what people already know. People already know the classics. They know their daiquiris, their sidecars, their Rob Roys, their Manhattans, but it's incorporating Jamaican flavor into these cocktails so we can have a signature Jamaican appeal when people come to the bar. And the great thing about liquor and beverages is that they don't necessarily, and even with bars closed right now, people can drink at home. So bottling, investment in bottling and sustainable agriculture to make sure that today when I go to get 1,000 pounds of lemongrass to make lemongrass liqueur, next week I can still get that 1,000 pounds at a similar quality. And if too much rainfall, the price doesn't go up 20%. If too little rainfall, then the price doesn't go up 100%. So there's some amount of, you know, consistency where producers like myself, I'm getting into that. I mean, I remember, I don't know if you guys remember last year at Demby, we had done some mango liqueurs and some coconut liqueurs and some pimento liqueurs. Pimento is another incredible ingredient. And then in the future now, we're finding ways and methods, especially talking about molecular gastronomy, where we can employ certain scientific techniques to extract the best of these ingredients without too much additives and without perverting the flavor that much. So for example, with, you know, pressure infusions, you know, we can use a device that I use in bars to do rapid infusions where we're bringing the ingredient, for example, pimento, and the liquor, like so for example, rum, under incredible pressure, 350 PSI and upwards, to force the liquor into that ingredient. So the pimento, the lemongrass, under immense pressure. So think of a pressure cooker or low temperature cooking, and then releasing that pressure rapidly and allowing all the flavonoids to get into that liquor and flavoring that liquor so that people can enjoy something that is uniquely and authentically Jamaican. So that people are coming to Jamaica for, you know, the Jamaican flavors. And another big opportunity is pairing cocktails and local beverages with food. I mean, I see we try this at festivals and things, but one piece of advice is looking at beverages like a puzzle piece. You know, you have your meal, your starter, your middle and thing. It's looking at that one specific trait in the food that can translate into the drink. So not because, you know, for example, say jerk. Jerk has a plethora of different ingredients in it. I'm sure, I'm not a chef, but I know that there's ginger in it. I know there's pimento and Scotch bonnet, but it's using one trait of that to translate into a cocktail. So for example, ginger. That doesn't necessarily mean that in the cocktail we need ginger, pimento, and Scotch bonnet pepper. We just need that ginger. And say, for example, a ginger flavored daiquiri. Ginger, Jamaican citrus is another big thing. When I think of Ortonique and so, but even some overlooked ones, grapefruit and ugly fruit. When I look at I had an ugly the other day from Chiloy that I bought in St. Anne that you can eat right through the peel. I want to look at, you know, things specific to Jamaica when taking examples from other countries like Italy, when they look at the limoncello, they're using Amalfi lemons to make limoncello, which is a special type of lemon. And we can create our own kind of liqueurs that can't be replicated anywhere else because nowhere else has the terroir and the kind of climate that we have to give us that special flavor of fruit, you know? So there's incredible opportunities here. I mean, even though bars are closed, caterers, both beverage and food, there's a lot of opportunities in bottling, you know, pre-packing and, you know, finding markets for that. But, you know, it doesn't go without linkages where we need marketers, people to create narratives around it. Michele Williams is writing a book, people to put the story out there to say that, you know, we have this, you need this, and then, you know, the creators come together and then we can create a product that is truly international. Because we may not be able to compete on scale in certain things yet, but we definitely can compete on quality. And I think if we start there on quality, then we'll eventually get to scale. And I think I'm gonna wrap it up there with my time, and then we can come back with the question section.
Yeah, man, thanks a lot, Wynton. I mean, I don't know what it says about you that you don't know that bars are now open, are now allowed to be open, but or about to be allowed to be open. I'm not sure. I don't know either. I'm not 100% sure either. But I take your point 100% that we need in this period to be looking at how it is that we creatively develop new cocktails, new flavors. People come to Jamaica, and it's an excellent segue into our final speaker, because like we said at the beginning, Derek, and I'm not sure if you were here at that time, that gastronomy is something that persons come to Jamaica to experience. one of the things that persons know about Jamaica and associate with the Jamaican culture, with a Jamaican experience is our food, but also our drink. Yes, rum and coffee, but also our cocktails. I know tourists who have come back to Jamaica simply because of the mastery of the mixologist behind the bar, and the ability of that mixologist to infuse a Jamaican experience. Some of the names of the cocktail we can't call in the early morning session here, but certainly they have come back to Jamaica for that experience. And I believe that we have an excellent segue now into our final speaker, who happens to be the president of CASE, College of Agriculture, Science and Education. But he's also the chairman of the Agricultural Technical Working Group for the Tourism Linkages Network. Now, my good friend Dr. Derek Deslandes has had many years of experience in developing strategies for tourism and agriculture in tourism as well. And it's great to know that in the last few years, he has been, in fact, the president of CASE. So bringing his perspective to the discussion, we want him to particularly focus in this moment on capitalizing on the linkages between agriculture and tourism. And Derek, feel free to weigh in on some of the things that you may have heard Michele or Wynton speak of in terms of the importance of us infusing our Jamaican creativity and culture into the final product that we give to our market. But we're very pleased that Derek would join us this morning. Derek, it's over to you, your time.
Thank you, Harold. Just a little bit of background. My PhD thesis that probably most of you don't know is that was it actually in the branding of destinations and countries. Because
is that so?
Yes, okay. Years ago, so I would have been one of the pioneers in the field in terms of extending branding from the traditional product type branding to countries and destinations. And in fact, that branded I used model to Montego Bay, and was way back in 1990, 2002, 2003. So I actually came to Africa from that perspective, researcher, and trying to figure out why, after all of the years of foreign direct investments, in fact, I wrote a paper looking at foreign direct investments and try to explain why we're not seeing the growth reflecting from the fact that we're getting all this money in tourism, but it was not reflected on the GDP growth and so forth. So we have the highest success rate in terms of attracting foreign direct investments, the lowest growth rate in the region, averaging of 1% over the last 40 years. So it does tell, because normal economic theory tells you that if you have a large, consistent improvement in foreign investments, you should see that reflect in GDP growth. We discovered that two places. One, we didn't have the absorptive capacity within the country to take advantage of the tourism boom. Two, we are still focused a lot on replicating for the tourists their experiences in North America, saying the fries and burgers and whatever it is, and not enough effort being spent on developing and introducing local cuisine as a big part of the tourism product. In fact, years later, we had to focus on having a Jamaican night. I've always been of the view that Jamaica a Jamaican night must be infused throughout the experience. And that is still a view that I hold today. But in terms of outside of those, I guess, more intellectual pursuits, my work on the committees has really been about brass tacks, getting to the basics. How do we address the basic issue of getting food in hotels? The food I'm talking about now. Tomatoes, lettuce, cabbage, sweet pepper, all of that. And how do you find a way to mitigate the imports while maximizing local contribution to the sector. I think that's been our focus. I think 2008, we did a study on tourism linkages to assess the demand for Jamaican products in the system, in the country. I had some very interesting conversations with both Minister Bartlett, current Minister Bartlett, and former Minister McNeil about the issue of linkages. At the time of my assessment, we were about 30% of the demand for food within the sector. That's grown somewhat. And I think in recent times, my work on linkages has really been about addressing some very specific challenges. The team produced the first national demand study for Jamaica. That was very comprehensive across both food, furniture, entertainment. That kind of set a benchmark and a guide as to where we are and what we should be attempting to. We produced a second version of that in 2019, which is the 2019 version of demand study, which again points to progress, yes, but also opportunities. For example, what we now know is that the tourism industry takes off about $40 billion, $4 billion worth of Jamaican produce on an annual basis, roughly $300 million in total. And it cuts across beef, all beef is limited, chicken, pork, most of the vegetables are grown locally. So there have been some significant developments. But there are opportunities. We put in some months of strawberries, for example. As the gentleman spoke about Trelawney. Trelawney used to be a major supplier of strawberry products back in the day.
Hey, Derek?
Yes.
Derek?
Yes,
we're having some challenges hearing you.
Okay.
I don't know if you could adjust maybe where you are and that type of thing, because with some persons having challenges hearing you, you're breaking up. So I'm not sure if it's the quality of your signal.
Well, I'm not so sure. Are you hearing me better now?
And just now, yes. Just now, yes.
Okay. Right. What I was saying is that there are some emerging opportunities in the space. And I was giving the example of strawberries. Strawberry demand in the sector is about 140,000 kgs, half of which is frozen, half fresh. We find that Jamaican farmers not only can produce high-quality strawberries, but at competitive prices. And what linkages have done, for example, we have promoted the growth of strawberries. We have provided greenhouses to farmers. It's something that is probably not known to the public, that we're not just saying to the agriculture and tourism people, this is how you need to do it. We're actually stepping in and providing hard dollars to the sector, agriculture sector, to help them to address some of their needs in terms of infrastructure. We are targeting other crops. Now we're focusing, for example, fish. Fish is a major import opportunity for us to basically remove. We also are looking at other variables. For example, we developed a training program for Jamaican farmers to teach them about hotels. How do you move into hotel space? How do you try to meet the needs of the hotels? We have tried to bring to focus on quality and the fact that hotels are increasingly beginning to look at food safety and food quality as critical variables in their supply chain. We have also taught farmers to recognize that hotels are not just individual buying units, but they are buying systematically 3,000, 4,000 rooms. And therefore, the farmers have to coordinate their activities to be able to meet that level of demand. Because hotels don't want to have 100 farmers come to them, they want 2 or 3 that covers all the areas of need. We also provide support in terms of seedlings in some cases. We've also spent money to build out what we call, it's called Alex. You've heard of Alex, or I've interacted with Alex. But Alex is an online platform that facilitates trading between hotels and farmers. And the Ministry of Tourism funds Alex to allow for farmers to call in, indicate what they have available, and link those hotels. We're going to automate that process by bringing Sagicor and others, so we can begin to move to a more digital platform in terms of how we handle transactions. There is a concern about, and it does not really take money. There's a need to build that exchange part of the business that we're trying to work through banking system to try to get that done. So we don't try to get the win. So basically, I think what we're seeing now is an awareness, an awakening of the critical nature of linkages and why linkages is important, why agriculture and tourism are umbilically linked. It's not an either or, and sometimes we tend to set we create the straw man to say, okay, it's an agriculture versus tourism. No, it's not. I mean, they're integrated part of an effort to transform the Jamaican economy into one that, as the country has agreed, should be first world by 2030. I mean, that's still a goal, and I think is tight, but still attainable if we put the right effort in. But that is the posture linkage committee. When we were working to try to see how we can break down barriers. We find, for example, that hoteliers didn't understand farmers, and farmers didn't understand. So we're trying to train both groups to recognize and to understand that you know, they are a critical part of the whole value chain of the industry. In recent times, we have identified communities in St. James and over Westmoreland, and we are now working with communities to transform those communities into part of the supply chain for hotels nearby. So, for example, across from Iberia Star.
Derek.
Yes.
Derek, we're still having a major problem hearing it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna ask you to pause a minute and ask our technician to talk to you off the air, see if we can get any better, and then come back to you. But so let me do that, and then take a couple of questions in the meantime. So we can, because you're saying some really, really important stuff I want folks to hear. So I'm gonna ask David to talk to you in the meantime. Yeah?
No problem.
All right, cool. But what Derek was saying, from what I was from some of what I was hearing, is that he was saying that there are the linkages committee have identified that there are distinct demand for certain crops, and he mentioned strawberries, demand for both frozen and fresh. I didn't hear the exact figure what he said, but I know he mentioned a figure as well, and he has mentioned that also 140. How much? 140 what, Derek? Right, and he also mentioned that the government has put in place some facilities to assist farmers to meet this demand. Quality and focusing on food safety, and the fact that we need to organize ourselves in the value chain, in the supply chain rather, such that because hotels are not as well, they're not capable of buying individually from individual farmers, but there needs to be an organization, and in many instances there has been that organization of the supply chain in that particular type of way, and that has been a very successful 140,000 kilograms. All right, thanks. And that has been very successful. So what I'm gonna do until just give me a thumbs up when you sort out the thing, Derek and David, so that we can go back to you, or you can finish up. But in the meantime, I'm gonna ask if there are any questions. If there are any questions that have been raised. I mean, I saw some comments from Mr. Mori's presentation and Dr. Paul's presentation, and also Michele and thing. But are there? I mean, let me start off by asking a question or two. I'm going to ask each of the panelists if anyone who wishes to kind of respond to see how it is that we can address it. My sense and our sense is that I'm not sure how much of our food industry is kind of acknowledged as a creative industry. Because our sense, our confirmation is that the main thing about our food and what makes it unique is not that we can cook better than anybody else per se. It is the Jamaican-ness that is in the particular food or preparation that we're going to do, both on the agri-process side and also on the culinary side in terms of presenting food. Do you have the sense, starting with you, Mr. Mori, do you have the sense that we appreciate that as our competitive advantage, and as such we focus on the food that will give us that kind of leverage towards towards a successful kind of industry? Or is it that we're just going with the flow and not recognizing that there is in fact tremendous potential competitive advantage in our food industry? Alvin, what are your thoughts on that? Peter, I see your hand are coming to you.
Maybe I use the example of 2010 going to 2011. The Jamaican greenhouse farmers were told that they can never ever produce enough romaine lettuce and bell peppers for the hotel industry. And within 2 years, we exceeded what was required by the market. Greenhouses in Jamaica started getting idle because open field farmers had upped their technology. They started buying hybrid seeds. They started putting in irrigation. They started putting in fertigation system. So they upped their game and was now ready to compete with greenhouse producers. So we reached a stage where greenhouse farmers were actually praying for rain to fall so that the open field farmers' field would die and they could get a chance to sell. And the opposite is also true. So we've come to the realization that June to December is the ideal time for greenhouse producers for the common crops that are produced in the greenhouse. The sweet peppers, the bell peppers, the lettuce, the cucumber. Strawberries have made a difference, and not for every area, but for some areas. And that is one of the areas I'd like to discuss with Derek down the road. We can have geothermal cooling and make the difference to produce some of these crops at sea level. And the technology is available. We need some capital to make it happen. So not that I would say we have not been appreciated or respected, but I think it's not very difficult to overproduce in Jamaica. So the market has to be ready, waiting, because, you know, when a friend called and said that he had 800 pounds of sweet peppers, but the hotels wanted none. The Jamaican market, the average Jamaican was not taking off that excess production if the hotels were closed. We saw the same thing with eggs, right? With Mr. Campbell over in Falmouth. So it's about matching the market with the production.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot. I'm going to take a question from Peter. I see your hand raised, and then we're going to go back to Derek after that. I'm going to unmute you, Peter.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay.
What the H stand for, Peter? I'm just in Peter H.
Oh, I created it. So it's Harriet, Peter Harriet.
Okay, so, cool.
I had Mr. Mori just actually addressed what I was gonna kind of talk about, where I think Derek was mentioning that. So I couldn't really hear him, but the linkages committee, I think he was mentioning, and how the demand study sort of had sort of bridged that disconnect between the suppliers and the customer, right? So yes. my concern is, because I do have an interest in in the food industry becoming, you know, moving more into more production. But my fear is that, as Mr. Mori said, that you may produce a crop and there's no market for it. But then Derek, I think, had also mentioned that there is now a platform called Alex for farmers to kind of connect more with, for instance, hotels. How is it that we're going to kind of correct that if it's not done already, so that people can move into kind of providing for the local market on a more sustainable basis?
All right, cool. Thanks for that. And I think that can carry us back into Derek to probably respond to Peter, but also continue on your thought trend that you were on, Derek.
Yes. Are you hearing me better now?
We are hearing you much better now. Thanks.
All right. So to respond to Peter, I think the critical is something that we have recognized for about 10 years. In order for us to really drive the agriculture sector and deepen the linkage with tourism, we need to create, not by the government, but by the private sector, a kind of commodity market infrastructure. So for example, you would have a center in, say, Centre or Trelawney, where the farmers are contracted to that center, and that center provides the services to the hotels. Mr. Gulab does that now in Westmoreland in relation to Sandals. Glastonbury is developing something similar in Trelawney. So there are private sector companies now emerging that are beginning to play that role. Because what Peter spoke about and what Alvin spoke about really comes down to, in one sense, to two issues. One, our storage capacity. And storage capacity in the Jamaican agriculture sector is virtually non-existent. So our farmers don't have a way of harvesting and storing the produce and to balance the market, because sometimes the market is only in an imbalance for about 2 or 3 weeks. Gluts in Jamaica are not long lasting. They don't go more than 2 or 3 weeks at a time. So if you have a way of balancing out the supply chain, the supply and demand relationships, you can in fact preserve the crop and maintain the price at a more consistent level, so that both the farmer and the hotel benefits in that sense. It makes, for example, we have had discussions with private companies. Lettuce is $1,200 a pound in the market now. Now, if you are a person selling burgers and you need lettuce, it's impossible to buy lettuce at $1,200 a pound and sell it back to customers for a burger for $300 or $400. It makes no sense. So you really need to get to a point where the production and the demand is aligned. It's never going to be perfect. So you need to have a kind of storage backup system that can store that produce for 2 or 3 weeks to balance out the supply demand imbalance. So I think that's one issue. To get back on track to what I was saying and to just kind of wrap up a little bit, we are also creating crop profiles. Because what we're trying to do is identify what are the important crops to the tourism industry. Not everything is critical. The industry loves Irish potatoes. It doesn't love sweet potatoes. That is for the long term. We're trying to convince them to lose more local Jamaican produce. But, so what we're doing is we're doing crop profiles. So we're saying to an investor, here's a crop profile. Not only are we doing the profiles, we're doing the productivity, we're doing the profitability index to say, okay, if in other words, it's a mini business plan. Here's a profile of a crop. If you have 10 acres of production, this is what the likely profitability is going to be based on the numbers. So those are the kind of things that Linkage is actually doing, that we are now saying to the public, here it is. We can provide you with more than just a talk shop. We're giving you tools that we can use to help you to reach into the tourism industry on a more effective basis, on a more consistent basis, so you don't go in there blind. We also provide regularly links between hotels and farmers. In other words, if a farmer calls me, I'll call the hotel and say, here's a farmer, here's someone with a supply. Are you interested? Hotels will say, well, listen, I have no tomatoes, I have no X, I have no Y, and we'll facilitate. So I think what we're seeing now, as I was saying earlier, is an awakening of some of the issues that we need to resolve if you are to deepen the linkage and make it a more seamless process between the sectors. Because as I said before, they're not competing around. They're two pieces of the same building. And if you take out one leg, the building will collapse. If you remove tourism, as we have seen, agriculture suffers. If you take out agriculture, tourism suffers. Right? So we have to understand that there's a symbiotic relationship between the two industries. And therefore, we need to start to operate not as rivals, but as partners in the broader game. So that's my, I respond to any other comments that they make.
Yeah, man, thanks for that, Derek. It is indeed a symbiotic relationship between agriculture and tourism, though. I would want us, this is my personal beef now, I'd want us to be promoting more of our food experience when we promote our tourism product, though. You know, as an attraction, because it is, you know, because I don't think we have done enough of that. And earlier we were talking about when Dr. Paul was talking, we were talking about festivals and food festivals and putting food festivals more front and center as part of the tourism product and the tourism experience. I think there's more work that we can do there so that, you know, so that it gets, I think because the truth is that we have the quality, we have the variety, we have the notoriety. So it is easy to be done, you know what I mean?
It's also the branding and the creation of this unique Jamaican experience. We keep trying to replicate North America, right? And while some American tourists come to Jamaica and they want to have burgers and fries, they still want to experience the Jamaican cuisine, even tentatively.
Absolutely, brethren. Absolutely. They still want to get a unique Jamaican experience when they go to the bar. They still want to get a unique Jamaican experience when they go into the restaurant. And they still want to, I believe that more and more of them want to go out on the road and get an experience, including, of course, the all-inclusive experience. I'm not knocking that at all. That's there and that's good. But I think there is certainly room for us to expand that type of product into and of course in that way engender much more of the trickle down effect, you know, and into the economy around. But that's a different discussion. That's a different discussion. I see a question in the chat. Sansa, are you back, or you want me to do?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Question from Leon Sams. What do we say to people who are convinced that we should be importing produce when it's cheaper to do so?
Well, it may be cheaper to do so.
Can I respond to that? That's a very popular one. Let me say that you have to look broader. Sometimes cheap is not always good. Because let me say this to you, that we import a lot of things cheaply. But what people don't understand is that these things are highly subsidized in the exporting country. And I give an example of milk powder. Through the importation of milk powder in the 90s, we literally destroyed our milk industry from 40 million liters. We are now struggling to produce 30 million liters. And guess what? Now today, milk powder is more expensive than milk. So sometimes when we see these cheap imports, it's because those products are being dumped from excess production elsewhere. Now but the broader issue, Harold, is that if I buy a pound of Jamaican produce, I'm pumping money into the Jamaican industry, into the Jamaican farmer's pocket. I'm improving his standard of living. What is he going to do with that money? He's going to go into the supermarket and buy things. So in order to cycle continues, you build up the Jamaican economy. When you buy imported products, there's a limitation where that money goes. And so the economy doesn't benefit from imports as such, as it does benefit from the local production. And that you're taking that dollar from the tourist trade and you're building up that local economy. So people have to take a broader perspective of what it means when we talk about substituting import for local. Now we're not saying that you must import everything, you know. Some things you can't stop, because listen, I would never tell you to say, let us go produce all the grapes that the sector requires. We're not going to be able to produce all the grapes that is in demand. It's not possible. So I would not even try to focus my efforts on saying replacing grape imports. But I can replace strawberries. I can replace raspberry. I can replace mushrooms. I can replace all those other exotic products that we can grow locally. That's the point I'm trying to, that we need to bring across.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well said. Dr. Powell, you have any perspective on that? Dr. Powell? Pamela? You're muted. Or anybody else on the panel has any?
Are you hearing me now?
I am hearing you now. We are hearing you now.
Yes, sorry about that. I was just going
Just
back
wanted to know if you had any. Go ahead.
point you made early on about recognized gastronomy, or for that matter, Jamaican cuisine, in the same way that we would have a Sumfest. You didn't say Sumfest, but I'm saying Sumfest. When you have these big events, performing arts events, why can't our food, when I went to the Miami, branded Jerk Miami food festival, everything Jamaican was there. The same way we set up our food festivals, it's just like it was huge. Like 40,000 people were in one venue and it was so orderly. But when you go around and look at what was displayed, they were all Jamaican things, coconut drops, gizzada, this, that. And I'm saying, look at this. Why can't we do this in Jamaica? And then it got so big in Miami, they moved it to New York. And the New York one didn't happen because of COVID. And then they moved it down to Atlanta too. And here we are in Jamaica. It's our products, you know. It's our gizzada and potato pudding and everything. It's our products, and they are doing that overseas. And we're not even trying here to have something like that.
Yes. That's exactly what I was alluding to earlier. I mean, and I said it again when after Derek's comment, that we need to, as a country, I believe, and we can start building on that effort even right here, and influence that effort from where we sit at JBDC and where you sit as well, Derek, in terms of the linkages, and all of us. That I believe Derek, earlier on we said that the Linkages Council did a survey. I'm not sure if the Linkage Council or Straight Ministry of Tourism did a survey recently in terms of why persons come to Jamaica. What are the main reasons why persons come to Jamaica? It's from that survey that the minister developed his 5-pillar program. And one of the pillars is gastronomy. And it is based on the survey that says that persons come to Jamaica for food. One of the strongest cultural industries that is recognized internationally, one of the strongest cultural pillars, apart from our music and sports, generally speaking, especially in recent years, is food. So therefore, we really need to be leveraging that in a serious kind of way. As Dr. Powell said, all of when you go to the Jerk Festival in Florida, all of the vendors are promoting a Jamaican experience. The entire festival is promoting a Jamaican experience. You know, kudos to Appleton for the recent introduction of the Rum Festival, for instance. But we need to be doing much more of that. But the point was that in answer to your question, Leon, I don't know if you are satisfied with the answer, but I believe Derek speaks for all of the panel when he says so, unless of course any of the panelists have any other perspective on that matter of persons who are convinced
Leon's
that
hand is
importing will
up
be cheaper.
again, Mr. Davis.
Leon's
hand is up. Maybe he has a follow-up question or so.
If
Okay,
I just add before Leon's question. In 1998, I went to Japan with $17,000 to buy a double cab pickup and found out that it was cheaper to buy it in Jamaica than Japan. So I asked why. They get an export subsidy.
Alvin, your signal dropping in and out like Derek's was. So I don't know if you want to kill your video feed and just talk. Try that.
Yes, I was saying in 1998, I carried money with me to Japan to buy a double cab 4-wheel drive Toyota vehicle.
Yes.
and found out that it was 3,000 US cheaper in Jamaica than Japan because they get an export subsidy.
There you go. There you go. All right. Somebody had up the hand, they said, Sansia?
Yes,
Sansia?
Leon had up his hand. So Leon, I'm gonna unmute your mic and you go ahead and ask a question.
Hi,
Go ahead,
everybody.
Leon.
Hi, everybody. In relation to my question, there is also the issue of food security in our country, Jamaica. So if we were to consistently import food from other countries when they have issues, then it is going to affect us. And I think we had some issues with some lettuce some time ago, where we had to restrict the importation of lettuce because the US had some issues. So issues like that we have to take into consideration because it affects our livelihood, or our ability to eat, right? And of course, when other countries experience food shortages, it also impacts us because we might not necessarily get any because there's a shortage in their country. And my question came because some time ago I heard a radio personality talking about the fact that it is cheaper to import Irish potatoes. So why is Jamaica pushing to get to so that was just.
I'm sure Derek is chomping at the bits to respond further to that.
I believe that to Alvin, but let me just say that Irish potatoes in particular is near and dear to Alvin's and mine's heart. Because we launched a program in 2009. We were importing 22 million pounds of Irish potatoes. We developed a program, we built a value chain, and we went through all kinds of whatever. But at the end of the day, in 4 years, we were importing only 5 million pounds. Now, if you go to Christiana today, and you go to Guyshill, Christiana in Manchester and Guyshill in St. Catherine, and you see the revitalization of the towns, just based on that activity to bring Irish potato locally, you'll understand why it was important to make that shift. Because people don't understand, again, it's not about just prices. You have to look holistically at what it is you're trying to achieve. Irish potatoes is one of the highest demanded products in the economy. And I'm saying to you that Jamaican farmers have planted it for 50 years. So there's experience. What you need to figure out are the value chain issues. How do you finance the farmers? How do you provide guaranteed markets? How do you provide the high quality seeds and fertilization? The point I'm making is that Irish potato is one of the few Jamaican products where the farmers have contracts to supply annually. So yes, it may be cheaper, and then sometimes, Harold, the imported price is twice the price of the local, because again, international imports and exports follow supply and demand relationships as well. So that's reality. And the Dutch gives an export subsidy to export Irish potatoes. It is cheaper to export Irish potatoes from the Netherlands to Jamaica than to buy it from Canada or North America or USA. And they are next door to us. So these are the realities in the trade that people don't understand when it make these grand speeches about the reality.
Derek, it's 120 years history of growing the crop. And you need to mention the significant development that has been made by the private sector in developing cold storage facilities because of Irish potatoes over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Both of us are passionate because both of us work on that project.
I just want to jump in a second to talk about, we're talking about imports and exports, but I think one of the main opportunities going forward is really the value added. When we talk about processing and adding value and bringing it up the value chain. So you have the growing and the agriculture and then processing. There's so many ways that we can utilize a lot of these crops. So for example, like even potato, we can make vodka out of potato. But it's bringing up the value chain all the way up to the food festival, which I think is the highest part of the the value chain where we're taking that one product from the field and we're bringing it, we're branding it, we're marketing it, and suddenly the potato that was, let's say, $10 a pound is now valued $1,000 a pound. You know, when we're putting value behind it because of quality. When we're saying that this potato that grew in St. Elizabeth on this date in this year because it had such great weather can make this kind of, you know, amazing culinary representation. Because it's coming from Jamaica. When we look at our sweet potato, is it how we are utilizing these products? I mean, sweet potato may not get that demand, but we need to put it in the hands of the creative. How do we take these products from all these places? Sweet potato, jackfruit, whatever, all these little, even the little exotic fruits and ingredients, and how are we adding value to a point where we're not only surviving, but we're thriving? You know, we're not only trying to sell based on what it costs us to make it and do it, but based on the perceived value. It's not a bad thing that we have these food festivals in New York where we have Jamaican thing. It just raises awareness about Jamaican produce and products. And whereas festivals might have gotten, you know, a little obstacle now because of, you know, new regulations for crowds, it doesn't mean that we still cannot export fully, you know, transformed agricultural produce. You know, when you look at Aki wine, well, you guys have it at JBDC's office, Aki wine. Aki wine is coming all the way from a tree and goes through a big process. So, I mean, a lot of investment needs to go into agro-processing and to make it, you know, so we can scale it, you know? Because instead of exporting mangoes, if we're exporting, you know, bar mix, mango mix from mango daiquiris, instead of that's greater. But then that also involves packing plants. That also involves labeling and marketing, and also involves the creative like myself, who's gonna go there and, you know, put in these people's mind that why you want to use Jamaican mango in your cocktail as opposed to that. The same thing with wine. When I'm paying, if you're gonna pay 6,000 and upwards of 20,000 US for a bottle of Bordeaux, a 750 milliliter bottle of Bordeaux, it's grape, no? But that grape has developed a reputation and, you know, the marketing behind it and narrative behind it, the culture of France wine drinking has turned that at cost probably $10 US into a $2,000 bottle of wine.
Yeah. I'm with you 100%. Wynton, in terms of the importance of going up the value chain. We have been preaching that for a while. I believe that as an economy, generally speaking, we need to be focusing more up the value chain in terms of the products and services that we focus on for wealth creation. So that's a different, that's a discussion that needs to be had, and I'm happy that you brought it to the table. But I also wanted to add another point to the question that just came in a while ago. I mean, about the potato. Not to talk about the potato per se, but I've heard in recent times, panelists, that some of the economies in the world, because of the COVID, are basically locking shop as it relates to export of their food products. I've heard that discussion that they're going to focus on feeding themselves first in this period. And I don't know if you guys have heard that discussion, and how will that affect us? And for me, I believe it provides a significant opportunity for us now to look at really doing the exact same thing. I mean, I hear Mr. Fulton mentioned it and spoke on it, but I think it provides us with an opportunity to really get into properly feeding ourselves in the same way in which we have done for potatoes, in the same way in which you guys have led the charge, as in, when I say you guys, I mean Alvin and Derek and company have led the charge for onions as well. What are your thoughts on that? I did another question that's in the chat, but I would love to hear your perspective on that.
Harold.
Second? Yeah, man.
2008. The very same thing happened in 2008. And at that time, agriculture was valued at 4.9% of GDP. It is now 7.3%. it is out of that 2008 experience where a lot of what we achieved and are trying to achieve, that's where it emerged from. So here's an opportunity to take a further step. I have always been of the view, and the discussion really value added is timely, because when we did a study with AICA about 8 years ago, and we assessed the value added potential of Jamaican economy. In the United States, the value added potential is 8.1%. In Costa Rica, it was 8.1, 8 times 1. So a multiple of 8 times, sorry, Harold. In Costa Rica, it was a multiple of 3. Canada, a multiple of 5. In Jamaica, it was a multiple of 2. Because the point that was made earlier, we do not and have not taken the Jamaican produce and done enough value-added work to move it up the value chain. So the point about the value added is absolutely spot on. And I've said repeatedly, both in private and public, that the focus of Jamaican agriculture sector must be on value added creation, right? Because we do have a base, we do have a productive base, and we can now begin to focus on the value added and driving that, because we don't earn enough money from our basic produce. So I agree. But I'm also saying that one of the things that we're not very good at is being very strategic about what we grow. We have identified a list of 25 Jamaican crops that we think Jamaica can be competitive internationally. And we have ranked them in order of performance. And we're saying that what we need to do now, Harold, in my view, take that list, those crops, and focus on them. Jamaica grows 65 different crops. So, but half of what we grow is not viable. So we shouldn't even waste time and energy on those things. Rather, should not even be concerned about them. We should focus on the 25 or 20 or 15. We have a real opportunity to convert and transform those and put all our energy and efforts into that. And that is what we're not doing. We're still trying to be everything to everybody and to please all men. It can't work. We don't have the resources to do that.
Yes, I agree with you. Any other panelists have any perspective on that?
Hi, Harold, can I just add something to what you were saying?
Sure.
Okay, we're talking a lot about potatoes, but I think the value of yam, I'm just very passionate about using it. So I think sometimes the lack of knowledge, people are just so accustomed to, when you see yellow yam, you think of boiling yellow yam. But instead of potato salad, you can have yellow yam salad. One of my signature dishes is yellow yam cheese bake, where we crush the yam just like the Irish potato, and it's topped with cheese and baked in the oven, and it's really amazing. So I think
it is. Cheers. Sorry.
Yes. So it comes back. I think it also comes back to knowledge, use of products, so thinking outside of the box. Sweet potatoes, yes, not as popular as Irish, but guess what? If somebody's very health conscious, they don't want the Irish potato. It's all about fab, it's all about sweet potato now. All the vegans, vegetarians, they don't want Irish potato. They want sweet potato. But I think our yams are underutilized. And if people are more knowledgeable about interesting ways, yes, you have these food shows at Denby, but then when they get home, they don't use it. You're saying something?
Yes. So I was saying that even an added opportunity there that you just kind of brought up is the knowledge economy, is bringing utility to people on how to use our products, even those that are not the exotic ones. So even like your cookbook, cooking shows. I remember creative cooking when I was growing up in Westmoreland, and, the intrigue there. And when you have cooking festivals, food festivals in New York and Miami that talk about Jamaican food. Now we have the internet, and it's just so much easier, especially with creatives. We talked earlier and said that the hotel and agriculture economy, hospitality and agriculture are in the same house, but so is creatives. When you put creatives behind the production of some of these cooking shows, and more cooking shows in Jamaica, especially somebody in there asked about because of the fear of crowds and COVID, you know, we can now bring, you know, the experience to people with properly curated, where the creatives come in, and then you have the event companies setting up staging to create that value added when it concerns our food. I watch a show and I see Michele Williams doing the sweet
I'm
potato.
just about to say,
And
sorry.
you know, it is that funnel, that marketing funnel straight into
Yeah.
a product, and Michele Williams sweet potato pie recipe, you know, and it goes into the
How
product.
to prepare it. A number of persons have been contacting me online and asking how to cook. I'm at home, I have these products, can you assist me? So I'm actually offering that now, where somebody can hire me even for an hour, and I'll teach you, you know, I'll contact you and send you the ingredients, the recipe the day before, and online. I'm in my kitchen, you're in your home, and for a half an hour or an hour, you have my time at a service. That's a service I now offer.
Exactly. I mean, now that, you know, events maybe scale down a lot, now we're looking at smaller groups and more intimate groups, and there's still a high potential for value, especially on the luxury side, you know, and this is where we incorporate the products. So say, for example, I'm just putting it out there now, you and I host a small group sessions of no more than 8 persons, where we're incorporating Jamaican ingredients, value-added ingredients. We're using Arawak Gourmet or Simos, or we're using this jelly, or we have so many pepper sauces. I think we can do it a little less pepper sauces, but I mean, there's so many other things that you can incorporate. That's just my personal thing, you know, but yeah, there's this incredible opportunity.
I have quite a list of sauces, and also utilizing Jamaican products. Like we have a lot of mango chutney, for instance, that, you know, these products are imported, but we have mangoes out here. If you drive on an average down anybody's avenue, the amount of mangoes you see just literally dropping, you know. So, I have on my list a mango papaya sauce as well. But we would actually make a good team, you know. I cook and you provide the beverages.
We have an online networking going on now. Thank you, JBDC in concert. But all right, I think it's very important. I see some questions in the chat, Sansia. But before I come to that, I want to just make the point that even with what we have seen recently, with the farmers markets opening up and rather facilitating the sale of some of those products that would normally go to the hotel industry, those items like the eggplants and the zucchinis of this world and the different sizes, people generally speaking don't know how to use them. It's not stuff that is not items that persons regularly use. So one of the things that we have in fact done is approach the Ministry of Industry, Agriculture, and offered partnership in terms of helping developing programs that help persons to know how to use some of these items, and in what how to prepare them, you know, how versatile they are and things of that nature. So I agree with you. That value add information is very, very important. But the chat line is hot, so Sansia, go ahead.
Okay. Question from Dave Roy Chin. He is asking, how does one get the data that is needed to enter into the different markets? So he's saying that he knows that data is very important to the production, so the whole production system in terms of growing the products and stuff. But how would they access that kind of data?
I have responded, Sansia.
Oh, you did?
In the chat, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Where is that?
It's
competitive. Okay. Right. So Dave, right there it is. Rada, MICAF, AIC, and I guess that's Ministry of Tourism.
And JAMPRO.
Okay. Due to COVID, this is a question from Michele Lewin. Due to COVID-19, to create a festival in terms of food, how can we safely do so, knowing that there will be thousands of patrons who would want to attend and taking into consideration the virus? I mean, somebody can take that question.
Until for the foreseeable future, I mean, everything has to be scaled down. We're talking about smaller groups and frequency, and that's where scheduling and logistics really come into play. I mean, you do want to get the experience out to as many people as possible, But until we can safely do so, it's going to be more intimate, if you want to call it that. Intimate experiences where you're going to have a lot less people, but it's not there's an opportunity there now to improve quality. You know, you're trying to provide for thousands of people. You know, the food kind of is scaled down a little bit, but when you're producing for much smaller groups, you know, the quality can be so much more. There's so much opportunity to give them so much more in terms of experience, not only food, but in terms of a story and experience, you know? So that's just my...
Wynton, the link that you provided, was that the link to the 25 most competitive products? The RADA link?
Just an informational link to RADA. There's some resources there for people to perhaps, you know, produce and what is available.
Okay, so someone wanted to know where can we find the list of Jamaica's 25 most competitive products. I think Dr. Desland
that's for Derek, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, he said send your request. He provided his email address, ddeadland@hotmail.com, and he will share the information.
All right, we're good?
Yes.
All right, great. I think we had a strong session this morning. Very, very informative session. I want to thank our panelists for sharing. The only thing that I have a problem with, like I said before, Michele and Wynton, is that I don't see, now we should be going into, you know, lunch and, you know, food and some drinks and things of that nature. Even virtually, I just say, I'm dying for the day where technology will allow us to just, over the internet, boom, you have the essence of this food and you feel, you know. Anyhow, just saying. But I wanna, as we wrap, I want to thank all of the panelists for their presentations this morning and for their sharing with us this morning. Thank you, Mr. Mori. Thank you, Dr. Powell. Thank you, Michele Williams. Thank you, Wynton Hudson. And thank you, Dr. Derek Deslandes. Excellent session. Watch this space. We have, like I said, every week we have a number of interactive sessions online. Tomorrow is the Entrepreneur's Journey in Sosancia with on IG and Facebook Live.
Yes,
is that
it is. Yes, it is.
Right. So watch this space with lots of on Tuesday. We have virtual biz zone. I'm not sure what the topic is this coming Tuesday, but Sansa can tell you that still. But before
I'm
I
not
go,
recalling right now.
Thanks. Before I go, I want to just say a big thank you to all of our participants for logging on, for tuning in, and for being committed to participate in this our In Concert series. So I want to wish for you a safe rest of the day and enjoy the rest of the day. And this session will be available because it's being recorded, correct, Sansia? Yes, it is. It is being recorded. So it will be yeah.
It's
Go
being
ahead.
recorded, yes.
Right. So it will be available soon on our YouTube channel.
Yes, JBDC Jamaica.
Right. So if you found it useful and you want to share it with your colleagues or friends or whatever it is, just make them log on and tune in to this, and the other sessions that have gone already are also available. So thank you very much all. It's been a good session. Have yourselves a good afternoon. Thank you. Bye.